Hey, Stephen.
Hey, how are you doing tonight, Dr. Baird?
Doing good. I am doing good. I just got off another webinar, so I'm going to go off and pull up my slides.
Okay, sure. Back to
Alrighty.
back. Dr. Grier is going to join us via the phone. So after we do our first compassionate
Okay.
finance presentation, he'll join on. But I talked to him earlier today. He's excited about coming on tonight, sharing some of his success.
Good deal. Good deal. I'll be on in a minute.
All right, perfect. Sounds good. All right, welcome everybody. We got a few folks joining us here so far. So just a quick little rundown on how we do things here. So at the bottom of the hour here, Dr. Baird will start his presentation. He's going to go through some things about compassionate finance this evening, and then we'll do a quick little Q&A that will include a guest. We're going to have Dr. Michael Grier of Grinview Smiles with us. So he's going to talk about some of the experience that he's had with compassionate finance and how he thinks you might be able to apply it in your practice, especially during these times. So if you want to give it a try, hover over your Zoom module there and you'll see a couple buttons that are important for tonight's broadcast. We have the Q&A button. This will let you interact with Dr. Baird and Dr. Grier by asking questions. We usually go through them about halfway through the presentation. And if we have any more kind of pop in from the conversation, we'll get to those as well. We also have that chat button there. It's a great way to interact with me if Dr. Baird mentions any links. If we have any white papers or anything that's mentioned tonight, we'll go ahead and make sure that that is passed on to you as well. And yes, we will be recording tonight's presentation. I will send you a link in the morning, and we'll have a link that you can pass around to team members, peers, anybody you think would find this content beneficial. Go ahead and share that with them. We'll also have an offer for you tonight if you're not taking advantage of Compassionate Finance or Abella yet. We do have a free trial going on, so you can go ahead and click that link and secure your deal. That offer is good through June 30th, so we are coming up on that date. Dr. Baird will get started here at the top of the hour, and we'll get down to business. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. All right, everyone, we're about to get started here with Dr. Baird. I'll just go over a few housekeeping items real quick. This is Stephen from CFI, and it's good to have you with us this evening. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. Just a few points for how we interact on the webinar tonight. If you just want to hover over the Zoom module, you'll see that there's a Q&A tab on the bottom. That's a great way to ask questions. We usually get to them at the top of the hour, maybe 15 minutes past that. Tonight's presentation, we're actually going to have Dr. Bruce Baird walk through compassionate finance overview, and then we actually have Dr. Michael Grier, who's in our list of attendees tonight. He's going to jump on and talk about some of the success that he's had with using compassionate finance in his practice. So we're very excited to have him on tonight. Also, there is the chat button. The chat is a great area where you can interact with me. If Dr. Baird mentions a question, a podcast, or anything of that nature, I will go run around the internet the best I can, get you that link, and drop it over there in the chat. So be sure to look over there as well. We will be recording tonight's presentation. If you miss any portion of it, we will send a link out in the morning. You can pass that on to team members, friends, anybody you think would find this content interesting. It also have some links that you can click on and enjoy. Dr. Baird always comes with the great resources, and I'm sure Dr. Grier might have some great tips as well. So we'll be sure to include his also. But I think without further ado, I see the man himself getting ready. So Dr. Baird, how are you doing?
I am doing good, Stephen. Hey, can you do me a favor and put the little poll question about, are you using Abella, using compassionate, both, just for my purposes? I'm just,
you bet.
Just curious. Hey, everybody. It is officially 7:30. And what I want to do tonight, and I know I see a lot of you on here. I see Herb, I see Kevin. You know, I was just on webinars with some of you guys. So I'm just gonna open it up. Make sure you ask any questions that you have, because those questions are going to be valuable for you, but I think they'll be valuable for everybody. So you know, let's take a look at that. And then if you want me to go into using compassionate finance with associates, I'm more than happy to do that this evening. It's just wide open, you know, so just let us know what you'd like to hear. So let's start talking about compassionate finance and kind of how we use it. You know, we talked about the pandemic crisis. You know, many of our patients are going to lose up to half their retirement. I believe that those are the patients those that are patient will see a fast recovery, but it's going to take 2 to 3 months to completely, or 2 to 3 years to completely recover. Patient FICO scores, we know they're going to drop between 60 and 80 points. During the 2008 crisis, which they say this is worse, they dropped 40 to 50 points. Conventional third-party financing is going to be more difficult to qualify for. Synchrony Financial has already said they're re-looking at all of their underwriting. And that's where CFI, we started this company 10 years ago. It's called Comprehensive Finance, Inc. We are a C corporation, and we have a board of directors and the whole shooting match. And we actually have 2 products. One is compassionate finance, and the other is Abella, which is an account receivable software that is pretty phenomenal also. Let's talk about the financial discussion. For every 10 crowns that are diagnosed in the US, according to Gordon Christensen, which most of you might know his name, 9 out of 10 are done one at a time. You know, the average cost of an all ceramic, $1,200. Let's not worry about that. But why 9 out of 10 diagnosed are done one at a time? Why is that? The dentist diagnoses 5 crowns. Patient says, well, my insurance cover it. Well, they'll cover a portion of the treatment. Your portion is going to be $3,500. And then what does the patient say next? Can we just do one? This happens day in and day out in dental practices across the country. As a matter of fact, it happens 95% of the time. Team member, we don't like conflict, said, oh, sure, I'll get you set up. And so the dentist is outside, because the average dentist is only doing $420 an hour in production, which is about $3,400 a day. And if they can get 1 crown at a time, they can reach that average dentist. But that's really not taking care of your patients. It's just being, in my opinion, a mechanic, just working on whatever tooth happens to be broke. Why does it happen? Because they can afford what we're offering. They simply can't afford it. Decade after decade, dentists have offered the same payment options. It's an old way of thinking. Most dentists are being taught by, traditional third-party finance companies. Oh, do the 0% for 12 months. It's only going to cost you 10%, which is 35% of your profit. But why don't you do that? And let us help you teach your team to do that to your patients. When we know, after running research, that these patients that get interest-free financing, for 12 months, 61% of them would have wrote you a check. They would have wrote you a check, and you wouldn't have taken a 10% discount. So, their options are not in the best interest of the doctor, and it's really 0%. 85% of their loans are 0% interest for 12 months. Is that really affordable payments? So how do I help patients move forward with all the crowns? Well, here's how. You diagnose $5,000. It doesn't matter, not with all the crowns, but with all the dentistry they need. The dentist diagnoses $5,000. Will my insurance cover it? Same old story. They'll cover a portion. Your portion will be $3,500. Patient says what? Can we just do one? Or can we just do a little bit? Because they know I can't afford, I need to maximize my insurance because I can't afford the $3,500. The average person in the United States only has $4,300 in their checking account. That was pre-COVID. And over 50% has zero savings. So here's how you do it. Here's how we've done it in our practice. Here's how Herb, I know you're on, this is how you do it. A team member says, well, Bob, you could do one, but why don't we just use your insurance as a down payment and we can work out convenient monthly payments as low as $85 a month. Oh, and Dr. Baird can give you a couple pills so you can sleep and we can do the work all in one day. Well, doing this technique, I have had not one patient say no to this. Not a single patient say no. They all want to get all the work done. All of us would want to get it done if we can afford it. Afford it means monthly payments. So which would you rather have? Compare these two practices. Practice on the right and the practice on the left. Patient has $1,500 in insurance in both. They both need $5,000 worth of work. The practice on the left, you tell them their portion after insurance is $3,500. On the practice on the right, you tell them they can have payments as low as $85 a month, and you can use the $1,500 as a down payment. Over here on the practice on the right, they can get all their work done. And this is a question, Kevin, we had several questions in our group earlier. They can get all their work done. You do their work in a single visit. That's much more efficient. And that is COVID responsible. It's because we're going to have longer visits. We know that. You can offer sedation, which they almost always accept. On the left, they decide to only do what insurance will cover because they don't have the money. So you tell them, well, we can do $3,000 and insurance will pay $1,500 and your portion will be $1,500. They say, well, I just can't afford $1,500. So what you end up doing is the insurance pays $750 and the patient has to pay $750. You both, and coming back into the practices, we right now, Compassionate Financing, are doing more loans daily at higher values than we've ever done in 10 years. And that is amazing to me. I could not believe it. You're going to have 50 of these patients in your practice in your first month back. You may have already been in there, and I promise you there's tons of people that are coming in that need help, but also need it to be affordable. So think about this. On the left, you'll produce $1,500 per patient or $75,000. Hey, that's good. $1,500, that's on those 50 patients. Practice on the right, you're going to produce $5,000 per patient or $250. So practice on the left, you're going to do $75,000. Practice on the right, you're going to do $250,000. How many people over here in the practice on the right are going to have to default on this note you're fixing to do for you not to make more than 75 grand? That's step one. Over here, patients actually had to come out of pocket with $37,500 in very difficult financial times. Patients over on the right practice came out of pocket zero, not a penny out of the pocket in very difficult financial times. Not only that, the insurance is paying the $75,000. You're going to have, excuse me, $175,000 worth of short duration, high yield paper, which is debt paper, paying you over the next 12 to 60 months with interest. Believe me, you do not want non-recourse loans. That's what they've taught you. Third-party financing has said, oh no, you don't have to worry about it. We're going to give you your money and we're going to collect it. You know they're going to collect pretty much everything they do because they only accept a certain number of people. Over here, I'm able to help anybody that I want, and I'll explain to you more in just a minute. I'm going to go through that. This is the wrong presentation. So let's talk about compassionate finance, the benefits of doing good while doing good. By bringing in, and this is something that is brand new, and I'm going to share this information with you. I say brand new, I sound like, oh my gosh, it's brand new. And if you sign up now, you'll get 2 instead of 1. That's not what I'm saying. The thought process that I've always had is just do a loan, do a loan, one loan a week or something like that. What I did is I went and did an algorithm and a spreadsheet 2 weeks ago, and I found that if you're making, and I want you to listen, write it down, do whatever you need to do, but if you're making what the average dentist makes in a year, you're making about $15,000 a month. Okay, that's the average dentist. If you want to create a side business, a company that now is your own finance company, and you want to double your income in 3 years, you need to do $15,000 a month in compassionate finance. Now, what I just said was if you're doing $15,000 now, do $15,000 every month, and within 3 years, you actually will be having $175,000 coming in every single month. Not only that, but that includes a 20% default and all the fees that compassionate finance charges. So if you're making $25,000 a month, you want to have a secondary business where you're seeing 1 patient a week. To build this secondary business that now is going to $25,000 a month is going to create you $25,000 a month in revenue in 3 years. It takes a little bit of time to get to that point. What do you do with that money? Whatever you want to do. You could totally fund your retirement plan. Many of you have student loan debt. You can pay your student loans off. It's in your separate business. It's not in your dental practice. Pay off student loans. Take your family 2-week vacation, 4-week. It doesn't matter. You do what you want because this is a secondary business. So how do I do that? Financing $25,000 a month. At the end of 12 months, you have monthly payments of $5,000, $5,589, a portfolio of $230,000, meaning that's a portfolio of paper. That paper actually has a value. It's a debt paper. So you may be able to use that as collateral at the bank, and that's just your paper, not the monthly payments. Well, it's figuring on the monthly payments. At the end of 60 months, you're going to have monthly payments of $27,000 a month. You're financing 25, you have monthly payments, but in 3 years, you would have this portfolio of $1.152 million by July of 2025 if you started now, next month. And I'm not going to get into that. What's your risk? You're not putting up money. You're not the bank. You're not putting up money. They're paying for the hard costs of the procedure. That's your down payment that you're going to get. But you're not putting up money. You're putting up time. The average dentist time is worth $425 an hour. I can show you easily how to have a time value of $1,500 an hour, $1,800 an hour by doing paper and giving affordable payments for patients and having them pay all the hard costs. Your hard costs are covered, and it's totally based on the value of your time. So let's look at the face of compassionate finance. There's no way she could have done this dentistry. She didn't have the money, but she could afford the monthly payments. Couldn't have afforded it, but could afford the monthly payments. We get to help more people now than we've ever been able to help. It's amazing. I love it because I don't worry if a patient's an A patient, a B, a C, a D, or an E. E being the worst credit patients, because I know that the credit ratings are going to change. I mean, not the credit ratings, but their interest. The one who's the worst credit is going to get the highest interest, and I'm going to reap the benefits of that. You're going to help more patients by making care budget friendly for everyone, perform more comprehensive dentistry and single appointments, which I'm calling post-COVID what you got to do, generate more revenue, monthly payments with interest, We have industry-leading cloud technology for evaluating risk and loan performance and best-in-class training and customer support. Our experts manage every aspect of your loan. Can we look at the poll now, Stephen? Just curious.
Yes, sir. We should be able to launch that poll question up there.
Oh, I didn't even launch it, did I? Okay, I'm going to launch this poll. If you guys would be so kind as to throw an answer up there for me, at least I'll know where you're at and how deep I need to get into some of these conversations. There's a poll in progress.
There is. 2 quick questions, takes about maybe 10 seconds of your time. So if you just give us those couple clicks, we'd be very appreciative.
Great. Yeah, we've got a lot of compassionate finance users, which is good. We use neither. I'll probably share with you. We're going to send out tonight or tomorrow morning. I want you to send out the webinar that we did for Abella specifically. And please send out the one that we did for compassionate finance with associates. Would you mind doing that, Stephen?
No, of course, yes. And even that first Q&A that we did too about compassionate finance, that good 90-minute one, I'll throw a link in there too. So, I mean, really, there are a ton of resources.
Yeah, so I want you to go through that and, ask questions and do all of that. So anyway, that gives me a lot of info. What's important, they fill out a simple online application. It's very simple to do. It takes 5 minutes. It's done on your iPad in the office. We hand it to the patient and they do it. And here's the interesting part right here, the application status. It's approved with 17.9% interest. In 38 states, we can charge up to 18%, some states even higher, but we don't recommend that. But you'll notice over here, the credit rating's bad, but yet we approve them. Why would we do that? Because we don't just look at credit. We also look at their banking history. We know that 95% of Americans make monthly payments on time. They do. And what we do is take advantage of that also by getting our hard costs covered. So pretty well if that's 17.9 that this happens to be an E patient or the worst credit. You would think, I never want to do those. Why would I do that? They're the worst credit. Because we know that there's a 17% default on those patients. And it's not on the first payment. It's usually after 7 or 8 payments. So not only do you get a down payment, but you also get 7 or 8 payments from those who default. But more importantly than any of that, 83% of these people are paying you full term of their note at 17.9% interest. Get your financial calculator out, figure that one out. I promise you, interest offsets risk. It totally offsets risk. I love this. It's the monthly payments. The patient chooses. When you make an application with Care Credit or with Springstone or with whoever it is, they're going to tell you, oh, we approved them for 36 months at $224. Well, maybe the patient can't afford $224. But here's the deal. Patients choose. If I have a patient that says, well, I want payments, and I don't focus on the 17.9. I don't look at that. When we're talking to the patients, we say, take a look, and the patient says, I think I could do 286. This is the one I think I could do. We say, well, Mary, don't do that one. Why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do 144 and $144 a month payments? You can prepay at any time you want. And what that does is it cements, first of all, it makes it an easy payment for them, not a stretch. Yes, they're going to pay interest, but the truth is it's not that much interest over a period of time. And most importantly, it's offsetting any risk you have in the long haul. Retail installment agreement, it's a signed contract, very different than what you do in your practice when you say, Bob, just pay us over the next 4 months. And they leave, and now your team's trying to collect it a month later. There's no interest associated with it. It's the phone calls coming from Baird Dental Center, and they're not about to answer it because they know they owe you money. And that's why it doesn't work. We have all kinds of analytics. You've got collection success rates, portfolios. You can run dashboards. You can run reports on all of this stuff. New loans per year, active monthly payments. what happens is, you do the work, compassionate finance takes care of the collections. You don't have to do anything. It's a direct deposit into your practice bank account every Friday. We provide all customer service, and we initiate collections when it's necessary. What I tell you to do, and we'll talk about this in just a minute when I go off screen here. Granbury Dental Center, 1.2 million. The average credit score of these people that we've done work on, 586 is theirs. And we have picked up 194,000 in interest. That's just, it's crazy. Our performance speaks for itself. This is what I want you to look at. 93% average portfolio return doing, now we're well over 200 million in notes. We have a $1,500 setup fee up front, which comes back next week on July 1st. So we've waived that entirely. And a software licensing fee has been waived. Obviously, if you signed up now, it would start up next month. We have a $4 plus 0.5% portfolio management fee. That is to do all your collections. This $199 is so that you can do unlimited credit checks. You can go through and do that. But to give you an example of what a portfolio management fee, if you're looking at if you have $100,000 worth of paper that you've done, it's going to cost you about $500 a month. And if you're $500,000, it's $2,500, whatever it comes to. So we're based on volume, basically. You can't hire somebody to work 500,000 in AR. This is not AR, this is a portfolio, but that's what we do on your behalf. Let's go off of this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and let's see if we have questions. Any questions?
Yeah, we do. We have a great question from Dr. Kevin Hicks here.
Hey, Kevin.
What would be the normal length of the loan? What would, and in parentheses here, kind of what would you recommend? And then do you actually have a separate EIN for that business?
Yes. I would have a separate company, a separate entity, a separate bank account for my financing. What you do, and I'm going to go back to the question, but what you'll do is a patient, let's say it's $10,000 worth of work, because we're talking even numbers, and the patient's going to pay around 20% down. That's what we usually recommend. You can do whatever you want. You can say 30, you can say 10. It's up to you, as long as you know your hard costs are covered. So the patient pays 20. That goes into your dental software, your Dentrix, your EagleSoft, whatever it is. The $8,000 is just like you had an $8,000 PPO write-off. You write it off, and it goes to not PPO, whoever. It goes to compassionate finance. Now you know where it went. It's in your compassionate finance business. Now, as money comes in through that compassionate finance business for my goals, my daily goals at the office, what we call grab bag, for our PIP, profitability incentive point, which is, it's a monthly bonus that we do. I theoretically credit that to the patient, to the office. Now, I'm not taking the money out of my account over here, because this is building big, man. I'm making money over here. It starts out at $5,000 a month. Well, at the end of the year, I got 60 grand in my account over here. And if it gets to be 15, 20, 25, just the more money. We've had doctors buy airplanes, pay off their house, and do a lot of other stuff with it, open up other offices, and use the paper to refinance a house, and use the paper to open up additional practices. The length of time of the loan is one of the questions you asked. The longer, the better for me. I don't care. Remember, because the longer it goes, the more interest I make. And now, yes, my money is going to be a little longer going out, but the average we see across the industry, and we've done, 80,000 loans, 90,000 loans. The average is around 39 months, but I would never hesitate to go longer. If a patient needs a little less monthly payment, great, because, it just helps me, because number one, their payment's going to be affordable. Number two, I make more interest. This is strictly a business decision on my part. And For their part, they get to get their work done. And you take one more step is I'm helping them save money, because this deal of doing £1 a year is not saving them money. Our prices go up, plus teeth break, and then we end up with jacked up. It ends up costing them more money in the long run. So explain that. If they ask about the interest, say, but look, you were wanting to do one a year. You know, it's going to cost you a lot more. Trust me, that little bit of interest, it's nothing. You compare 17.9 to 9.9 or 5.9, it's very little. So hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's how people set up their budgets, right? Hey, $10 for Netflix, $50 for internet, maybe $120 to finance my smile. You know, that's just the way they break up their budget. They look at that number, not the not the interest percentages or those different things. So I think that just really will click with people. We have one more question we're going to get to, and then we're going to bring on our guest this evening. But for multiple offices, the fees, are they separate for each office?
They are separate. The $199, the setup fees are all separate. However, if you've got, you know, multiple offices, I'm talking, if you have 1, 2, or 3 offices, that $199, it'll be $199, and it'll be separated by office. Now, if you're running this as a corporation, then you can talk with Charles Brown, our guy, and we work with North American Dental Group, MB2. So we work with a lot of, you know, DSO, DMO, whatever they call them. So, but yeah, we work with a lot of those guys.
And so often, more often than not, if you have multiple practices, sometimes you start off with one, but very quickly within a few months of even getting started with compassionate finance, once it's integrated into your financial conversation, we get that phone call and we add those second, third, fourth, fifth practices pretty quickly.
Yeah. Another question I just looked at, CF for cosmetic, med spas, skin rejuve operations. You know, we have a number of them. We have plastic surgeons. We have the largest ophthalmology clinic in the world. We have dermatology clinics. So we have a lot. Our focus has been dentistry because this has been self-funded. This is a self-funded company owned by a dentist and some investors, which I'm the dentist that started it. And, you know, we're very stringent with our revenue, and at some point, and I'm going to say probably within the next 9 to 12 months, you'll see more marketing and advertising in those other arenas, because we're really pushing there. We're growing at such a fast rate. But yeah, all you have to do is sign up for CF, and if you have a cosmetic med spa, and, you know, cover your hard costs. You know, if you're leasing a laser, cover your laser hard costs for the month, and then finance the rest. Why? Because you're going to keep your chairs full.
Yep, 100%. Vets as well. We get a lot of inquiries from veterinary groups,
Yeah.
you know, looking for that as well. So we have one more question kind of in the bucket. I thought we could save that. So
Okay.
over on our attendee side, we have Dr. Michael Grier down there. And if we just want to make him a panelist real quick, I know he's joining us by phone this evening, but I mean, like, we've had some awesome guests like Dr. Mark Costas and several other folks, but Dr. Grier has been using compassionate finance for several years, and he has kind of some great stories to tell. And I believe he has attended PDA as well, Dr. Baird. So
yes, he has. He's unmuted now. Hey, Mike.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Now, here's the reason Mike's
Can you see me?
Here's why. I can't see you, but that's not unusual. The reason Mike Grier is not on a computer is because he's probably up at his river house, sitting there having a cold beer.
No, actually, I am at my computer.
Are you really?
I found one. Yeah.
Oh,
Found
man.
one with a camera.
I wish I could see you.
Can't see me?
No.
It's probably something I didn't do right, you know.
No, that's okay. Rename. Anyway, for everybody, this is Dr. Michael Grier. Not only he's been a PDA client, Productive Dentist Academy, for a long time, but he also was kind of one of our first guys that jumped in with compassionate finance and started using it. He's got a lot of experience. He's a good old boy from Texas, and he and I are friends. We saw each other 2 weeks ago up on the river and enjoyed the day. And I hope you guys survived having all those kids at your place, and I survived cousins camp. So
Yeah. You did.
Oh,
You kind of did the smart thing and rented some bounce houses. So.
oh, I did. I had Bounce House City. So, hey, Mike, what first intrigued you about compassionate finance? What was I mean, what kind of rang a bell?
Well, as you know, for so many years, the dental profession, whether it be school or even coaches and any kind of learning you had or I got about dentistry, one of the things they pounded in your head was, do not finance. Patients will not pay you. And kind of they're right to an extent, but the key was my light bulb went on. Basically, when we first started with PDA and compassionate finance, that when I heard it, the light bulb went on and I said, you know what? This is different. This is just like anything else, like any other kind of financing people do. And you're exactly right. I did understand that most of America, 9 out of 10 families, they pay things on time. Very seldom do people just walk into an establishment and write a check or throw down cash. So knowing this,
When they do, we love it when they do.
oh yeah, some do.
Yeah, we love it.
But the majority of them do not do that. And so, you know, they buy their cars, they buy their lawn equipment, they buy their backyard patio equipment, they buy this, that, they buy all that, you know, furniture, everything pretty much on time. And so I kind of came out of the era of, you know, you don't do that. Well, the difference is the light bulb really came on is, and you mentioned it earlier, real quick, you didn't spend too much time on it, and that is, you know, patients are not going to write a check to me I'm not going to have a real high success rate if they're writing a check to me, you know, to my practice.
Sure.
But when they're writing that monthly check to Comp Finance, you know, CFI, they're paying them. You know, and it's servicing the note for me. So after doing Care Credit, I've been doing Care Credit since Care Credit's inception. I mean, I'm thinking back 1990, maybe. And used it a lot, you know. But I never did like the idea that they were always grabbing anywhere from, it started out 7 to 8%, and then through the years, it's double digit nearly every time when someone uses Care Credit. Sometimes as much as 13-15% off the top of my fee. So basically, I'm giving a 15%, you know, discount when I do one of those other, you know, financing that's non-recourse, where you sell the note to them. And I'm not bashing them; they're good. They're okay.
No,
But
there are definitely times when, you know, when you need that option. I mean, that's okay. You know, and again, you can use compassionate finance for anything or for limited things. It's really up to you on what you want to do.
yeah, it's not limited to anything. I mean, cosmetics, implants, bridge work, it doesn't matter. You know, they can use it for anything. So did that answer your question, Bruce? I mean, I don't know what year. I know it's been probably 5 years or more. How long has the Comp Finance actually been rolled out? What year was it? 2012? Huh?
2011 is 2010. We soft launched it 2011, and then when you and I got together, you signed up for it really pretty darn quick. Right?
Yeah, it's like 2012, 2013. So I know it's been more than 5 years, probably been 7, 8 years. Yep. And we used it, and we used it a small amount at first because I had a system in here in my office that, you know, I didn't realize that I'm back there working and offering Comp Finance. But if you've got somebody up here up front that they're used to doing it one way, and then later on you find out, well, why didn't, oh, they did Care Credit, or they did, you know, they did XYZ. So, oh, okay. You know, and so we just had to go back and revisit those things and do a little coaching. and, reteach my staff. And, I finally said, look, the more money we keep in this office, the better your bonus is going to be, and the more I can pay you. But anytime anybody else slices off the pie, that's just less for us to use, and I think that kind of got them motivated.
I get them looking around.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If you were going to try to pandemic proof your practice, how did compassionate work for you? We talked about it a little bit up on the river.
Yeah.
When you weren't working, how was it having compassionate?
Well, I've been in practice 34 years, and this has been the first time that I have ever closed my doors and did not work and had money come in. So I have experience with that, and I really didn't think about the comp finance that was the notes that I had out coming in. And so I was really concerned about, the PPP and, how am I going to keep my staff? And I don't want them, leaving. They're great people, good team. When you work hard to develop a great team that you have a nice, well-oiled machine, as they call it, you really don't want to lose those individuals.
No, you don't.
And so, looking at the PPP, I looked at it and I was like, okay, I borrow $100K and I get 24 months to pay it back, and the payment's $6,000 a month. I didn't like those numbers.
Nope.
Now, I know a lot of people say, well, it's forgiven. Well, there's a lot of criteria that has to be met. And we all know sometimes when Uncle Sam is the one calling the shots, he can change the shots in the middle of it. Oh. And in fact, they did. I mean, we've seen some modulation, some changes to the PPP loan, haven't we, since its inception back in late March?
Yeah, about 5 variations, but
yes.
Yeah, I think it's for the good. But hey,
yes,
so monthly payments helped you down the road.
Oh yeah, so we did have a little insurance coming in, so that was some of it. Sure. I saw 2 patients one week and 2 patients another week. So I saw 4 patients in 6 weeks, 7. I don't know what's March 14th till May 1st. So, May 4th. So, that's what, at least 5-6 weeks or 7 weeks. I don't know. So somewhere between a month and a half, 2 months. So nearly 2 billing cycles essentially. And, it just was a great feeling that when we got into this and we got close to the end, and I was looking at that PP loan and thinking that, I'm going to need to borrow this money so I can keep my staff. And it's pretty stressful, especially when you're not working, you can't work. Someone's told you, no, you cannot go in. I saw 4 people during that 6-week period. Rest of it was a lot of, scripts on the phone, and so I called my AR person, or my accounts payable person, and we just kind of had a little meeting. I came to the office. She was getting ready to do payroll, and I said, well, what's the bank accounts looking like? And she goes, well, you got about, da-da-da. You got about, 60, 70 here or there. So, well, that ain't going to go real good to staff of 9 or 10 for, another, 2 or 3 paychecks. That'll eat that up quick. And she goes, well, last month, she goes, you had about 70 come in. And I said, do what? She goes, yeah, you had about 70 come in. And I said, really? I said, all insurance? And she said, no, there was about 30. 30 it was insurance. And then there was a little bit of, the 4 patients I saw. There was about probably 10, 15 grand there. Not even that much, probably. And the rest of it was comp finance payments. And so comp finance was more than what my residual insurance that, claims were out that came in. Right. Of course, my little old insurance coordinator, she worked her fanny off those first 3-4 days, that we were off. And I told her, I said, you get everything tightened up on the insurance claims, because we're going to need every penny we can get come in. And she did. So I knew insurance payments were going to fizzle out right after, that first 3 or 4 weeks, and it was going to be no more. So, yeah. So the last half of it is when I had the little meeting. I met with a couple of my staff, and we was up here, no patients, and I was just going over some things, kind of fretting it. And man, it was you can't believe the relief and the release of stress I got when I thought, you know what, I may not have to use that, government money, but if I do, I will use it. But hey, I think, we can make, because I was more worried about not so much getting through that 6 weeks. My concern financially was, the tail drag, because we all know when you have insurance out and so that 6 weeks I wasn't producing. What about end of May? What about June? And then July come along. That money's not going to be coming in because I didn't produce any during that time, 30, 45 days, prior to.
So true.
So that's where it's made me feel the most comfortable. I didn't even think of the word pandemic. I didn't think the word medical necessity, that maybe I get hurt, that it was be used as a windfall for some kind of aftermath that would happen to me personally or to my practice. But I'm glad it was there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any of us have ever even considered a pandemic and closing down. I've been doing it 40 years and I've, never seen anything like it. But just having that security of having that revenue sounds like that just was a big stress reliever for you. And that's what we've been talking about with our docs. And, we got a lot of docs that, that have really what I call recession proof, pandemic proofed, whatever it is, that practices by doing good while doing good. But not only that, it's great for the patients because you get to help them, but it's also great for you financially because this extra account, and I think I told you when I was up on the river, I was going to share with you, and we're going to coming out with a new white paper that says, hey, if you're making $250,000 a year in dentistry, well, then do $20,000 a month, just a month.
Yes.
In compassionate finance. And in 3 years, you're going to be making $250,000 in your dadgum finance company. And
I do remember that.
I mean, it's just, it just blew me away. It makes me want to pull the handpiece. I saw a patient today. I did and I'm retired, but I went in and did a sinus lift and put an implant in and had a blast. I guarantee you, it was so much fun. But anyway, I digress. But, just thinking that when we're coming up with some new, you'll see it next week for any of you guys that are using Compassionate, we're having something called the gamification of compassionate finance. You'll be able to download your own app. That app will not only have all the training on it, it will also have challenges and games to play for your team to get training. I'm super excited. And like I say, that our launch date is July 1st. So you guys that are already signed up will get a chance to do that. And one of the other things that, let me ask you one more question. And as far as difficulty in getting it filled out, getting the app filled out and stuff, I know you're not in the day-to-day where you're in there watching them, but do you have many problems with that, just filling the apps out, or is it a fairly simple process?
Bruce, no, it's not. I mean, it's just basically like you showed, or I guess Stephen, someone showed on the screen earlier. It's really that simple. And, after talking to you down at the river that day, you told me about the white paper stuff. And all that did is energy. You should have seen me that Monday morning, the 4th, when I come back. And I'm like, we're gonna ramp up. We're doing more of this. We're gonna do more of this.
Well, you know, I'm sitting there thinking to myself all these years, but you know, for 10 years, and you take one algorithm and you work it through a Excel spreadsheet, and all of a sudden I'm going, oh my gosh. Now I had done it and I saw it before, but I didn't realize it. And so until I realized it 2 weeks ago. And so now you're going to be seeing a whole new aspect of how we talk about compassionate finance. We've always talked about it as helping patients and helping ourselves at the same time. But when you can have a second business, I mean, you're not going to, you know, if you do 20 grand, 20,000 extra in dentistry in your dental practice is very easy.
It is.
20,000 is extremely easy. And instead, what I'm guilty, and I know all my buddies are guilty. You sign up for some multi-level thing thinking I'm going to be able to tell people about this. I hate that stuff. And now I'm actually doing what I actually know how to do. And I'm doing dentistry and I'm doing an extra 20 grand and it's bringing me an extra $250,000 a year as long as I'm practicing and as long as I'm doing it. And then I retire and I get that same revenue for another 39 months or whatever many months it is. So it's, and you know, anyway, I'm excited about that. So, but
the taste of it is this, and you touched on it. You talked about it in your seminars, but I want to say again, you said it right. It's not hard to do that extra. And if doctors will just do it and let it go, trust their team, get them trained, because Comp Finance, PDA will do it, make sure that they're ready to go.
Yeah.
But once you do it and a doctor gets the taste of, okay, I'm sitting down here today and I'm doing X number of units, crown and bridge, or I'm doing a all on, X, or I'm taking out, 18 teeth and putting in, 2 implants for a snap,
Yep.
Snap in lower denture. And you start doing that, you're not getting up. You're not running from room to room. You're doing more bolder dentistry, large case stuff, and you're sitting at one chair and you're not have to run around like an idiot and, changing gloves and mask and this and that.
Especially now.
It's just so much more enjoyable to be able to sit down and do a large case. And then that afternoon, do some runaround stuff,
You bet. Well, buddy, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. I mean, tell your beautiful bride I said hello, and I'm ready to go back up the river, although I have to find a boat.
Well, as you say, I got a boat. Now, this weekend, am I still on?
You're still on.
This weekend, Thursday, when I get off, I'm heading there to the River House. And this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, is my 3rd or 4th annual staff family weekend.
Oh, you told me about that.
Yeah, so you need to come at least. If you're going to be around, you got to come. I don't care if you just drive up in your car. I think that's far. But no, they're coming. It's their kids, their spouses, their children, their whole family. We've got a big place there, a big house, and we rent another VRBO down the street so we can get everybody housed. Everybody gets in a bed. But, the kids swim, and the staff loves it. My staff, they just said, we want to do it again. We want to do it again. And they just keep asking for it. And it's one time a year that I kind of give back to them, and we entertain them and let them come for just a relaxing weekend.
Man, Mike, thanks, buddy.
Sure.
You've got an awesome practice. You're an awesome dentist. You have an awesome team, and I'm glad to be associated with you, my friend. So, anyway, Stephen, you got any questions? I lost you. You're not on. I got to add.
There we go. Go. I was laughing at y'all telling stories. I was like, I better hit the mute button. So we do have a good question. If anybody else has one, go ahead and hit that Q&A button and we'll get those in here tonight. So this is from an anonymous attendee here. How do you arrange for doctors in a partnership to have ownership of the separate portfolio for retirement? If the agreement is that each partner gets paid a specific, example, 35% percentage of the personal collections, isn't that difference owned by the practice?
The way that I look at that, and we've had this question, a little bit differently, but not the part about owned by the practice. The way, if you have a partnership or you have a partner that you're working with or a couple of partners, what you do is you come together as a group and you make a decision. Look, guys, first of all, do we all believe this is something good that's going to help our patients and allow us to do more? And then what you do is you can start out by giving each doctor in the group a limit. We don't want you to do all compassion, not that that would be bad, trust me, but it would make things a little more complicated. But say each one of you can do 15,000 a month of your own financing. Now the practice is going to get 20%, which is going to cover the hard costs. So it's not affecting, if my hard costs are being covered, it's not affecting you as my partner, but I'm building this wealth portfolio. And so if you give each person the opportunity to do 15 grand, and if a guy only does 8, hey, it's his problem. If you want to do more than that, then you have to come together, or you just say over the next 12 months, I want to average X amount. And so those are solutions that we've come up with in the past that have done a really nice job of having partnerships that really are able to fund their retirement plans, cover student debt, plan vacations, buy airplanes, do whatever it is they want to do. So those are all pluses. So.
All right, perfect. Well, I feel like you've cleared the board tonight. We have not had any additional questions come in. I did put that Compassionate Finance offer page over in the chat. If you do want to go give that a click, you can request a demo for Compassionate Finance, request a demo for Abella, and we'll get you taken care of there. Tomorrow morning. Oh, go ahead.
I know there's a few of you who are not Compassionate users or Abella. Read the Abella, because we've waived a $1,500 fee until next week, whatever day it is, Wednesday. And we've waived the $1,000 Abella fee, which is an account receivable software. So, if you're thinking about doing it, now's a good time to do it. I just mentioned that. So, but thank you guys for being on with me tonight. And I'm going to have another one of these programs. We're going to tell them about it, Stephen.
So on Wednesday, we're going to have Dr. David Geller, who is the president of the American Association of Clear Aligners. Easy for me to say, but I got it. He'll be on, and he'll talk about how being a top 1% Invisalign provider, how he integrates compassionate finance into that type of procedure that patients are actively looking for, and how you can really, take advantage of that. So do join us on Wednesday at 7:30. It's going to be a really interesting show.
I got one doc, Brian Amison, who just said, I started using Abella last month, and I can say that it has been highly successful. This is a no-brainer. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it, buddy, because that's why we're doing these programs, because it collects money when you're not there, and Compassionate Finance helps patients that you ordinarily wouldn't help while you're helping yourself. So thank you, guys.
Yep. And that thing for Abella too, everybody cognitively goes to that. It's a no-brainer every time. They all say the same thing. Hey, it's a no-brainer to do this. I plugged it in, and wow, if I didn't recoup, money that Yep.
The Abella collects 53% of over 90 on average. So it's a pretty sweet deal. So anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate it. I'm going to go have a cocktail and enjoy the rest of the evening. Hope you guys do too. See you Wednesday night.
All right. See ya.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, you're welcome.